The Hill, former President Trump's unfavorability among registered voters has topped 55%, according to a new poll. A NewsNation Decision Desk HQ poll found roughly 44% had a very unfavorable view of Trump, the highest such rating across the other 7 GOP contenders tested. Another 13% reported a somewhat unfavorable view, for around 56% overall unfavorability. But the polarizing former president, the frontrunner of the GOP primary race, also boasted the highest percentage of voters who viewed him as very favorable, with roughly 22% expressing strong favorability. By contrast, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, long considered Trump's closest challenger, saw around 34% of voters view him very unfavorably, and 11% view him very favorably. Trump's numbers come as he faces a myriad of legal battles, including multiple criminal indictments, while he campaigns to return for another 4 years in the White House. Citing his significant lead in polling, he skipped the first GOP presidential debate and plans to do so for the second debate on Wednesday night, as his fellow 2024 Republican contenders gather in Simi Valley, Calif. The former president was also the only GOP contender tested in the new poll whose very favorable rating was higher than his somewhat favorable score. Former Vice President Mike Pence, by contrast, scored around 7%, very favorable, and 22%, somewhat favorable, compared to 33%, very unfavorable, and 28%, somewhat unfavorable. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy came in at 13%, very favorable, and 21%, somewhat favorable, compared to 22%, very unfavorable, and 15%, somewhat unfavorable. Ramaswamy, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and Senator Tim Scott, SC, received significant percentages of voters who said they were not sure about their favorability. 28% unsure of Ramaswamy, 29% unsure of Haley and 38% unsure of Scott. Voters were most uncertain about former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, with around 51% saying they are unsure about his favorability. Hutchinson didn't make the cut for the party's second debate stage in California. Just around 4% in the poll said they were not sure of Trump's favorability. Roughly 9% each found Haley and Scott very favorable. Another 22% viewed Haley somewhat favorably, and similar shares, 19 and 20%, viewed her somewhat and very unfavorably, respectively. Around 19% viewed Scott somewhat favorably, and roughly 17% each viewed him somewhat and very unfavorably. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie had around 5% very favorable, and 17% somewhat favorable, as well as 27% somewhat unfavorable, and 30% very favorable. The poll surveyed 1,000 registered voters between September 19-20, and had the margin of error varied across questions, reported as 3 percentage points. Numbers have been rounded.